Here are all the ingredients we're using to make the Amish bread starter. First, we're putting into the bowl 1/4 cup of warm water. Next, we're putting in 1 pack of active dry yeast. And we're mixing the active dry yeast and water together. And then we're taking that bowl and setting it to the side. And now we're taking a Ziploc bag and adding 3 cups of all-purpose flour into the Ziploc bag. And now we're adding 3 cups of white sugar into the Ziploc bag. And now my grandma is zipping up the Ziploc bag, and then she is mixing all the ingredients together. That's shaking it up in the Ziploc bag. And now she's mixing together the yeast and water some more to make sure it's nice and mixed together. And now my grandma is adding 3 cups of milk and adding it into the Ziploc bag. She is taking the last cup of milk and adding the yeast into it and then pouring it into the Ziploc bag. Right now she's making sure to get any air that's in the bag out. And now she's massaging the bag and making sure all the ingredients are mixed together well so they'll be ready to put into the large bowl. And now we're pouring all the starter into the bowl, into our large bowl. Now we're finished with the starter. Consider this day 1 of the 10-day cycle to make the Amish bread. And now we're covering the bowl up with the lid, and we're just cracking the lid a little bit. Stir the starter with a wooden spoon, or if you don't have a wooden spoon, stir it with a plastic spoon. But I'm just stirring my starter with a wooden spoon. And after you finish stirring each day, make sure you crack the lid a little bit like we did in the first day and set it aside. On day 5, stir in 1 cup of milk, 1 cup of sugar, and 1 cup of flour. On days 6 through 9, just stir only. On day 10, we're taking ground cinnamon and we're placing it in a quart Ziploc bag, and we're just using any amount of cinnamon we want in the Ziploc bag. You can just put whatever amount you want. This is just the amount we're using. And now we're adding in the Ziploc bag 7 spoons of sugar, And this is just the amount we're using. Like I said, you can use whatever amount you want. And now my grandma, she just mixing the cinnamon and sugar together. This cinnamon and sugar we're using to place at the bottom of the pans, and you will see that later on in the video. And now she is just setting aside the cinnamon and sugar. And now we're taking the Amish bread starter and we're adding in 1 cup of flour, 1 cup of sugar, 1 cup of milk, and now stir all your ingredients together. And now we're going to set the Amish bread starter aside for later. And now in a large bowl, we're adding in 2 cups of sugar, 2 cups of flour, now we're adding 2 teaspoons of salt, three teaspoons of baking powder, and now we're adding 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and now we're adding in 4 teaspoons of cinnamon, and now we're stirring the ingredients together, and on this step you can use a metal spoon to stir the ingredients together. And in a large bowl, we're adding 2 cups of oil. we're adding in 6 eggs, 2 cups of milk, we use 1 teaspoon of vanilla flavor, and now we're adding in 1 large box of instant vanilla pudding. And if you don't have vanilla pudding, then you can also add in 1 large box of instant lemon pudding. And adding the vanilla pudding to the Amish bread makes it feel nice and moist and fluffy. Now we're taking our Amish bread starter and we're placing in 2 cups of Amish bread starters into the other bowl. And we also had some starter left over. We did have starter left over, and a couple days later we decided to make some more Amish bread. And also, you will have some Amish bread starter left over. You can keep for yourself and use it, or you can give it to some of your family or friends. We also make some Amish bread and we gave it to our family. And when you give some of the Amish bread starters to your family and friends, then they can add some, any ingredients they want to as well to the Amish bread. And yeah, it's just like a friendship bread. You give some to your friends and you give some to your family. And now we're mixing all the ingredients together. And now taking that bowl of the dry ingredients that we set aside, and now we're taking the dry ingredients and placing it into the large bowl. And now we're mixing the dry ingredients and the wet ingredients together. And now the Amish bread batter is done. And now we have our Amish bread batter. And here are the nuts, walnuts, and raisins we're putting into the Amish bread. And now my grandma, she is oiling the bread pans. Grandma's also adding some flour into the pans to make sure that the Amish bread don't stick. And now she's adding the sugar and cinnamon that we had in the Ziploc bag into the bottom of the pan. And she's making me these two Amish bread with just cinnamon and sugar because I just want cinnamon sugar in mine. But she also is going to fill all the rest of these Amish bread pans with cinnamon and sugar as well. And now she's taking the Amish bread batter and placing it into the pan. And now she's making the other Amish bread with cinnamon sugar and nuts, walnuts. And this is the Amish bread with the cinnamon, sugar, raisins, nuts, and walnuts. Next, she's making the Amish bread with just cinnamon, sugar, and raisins. And now we're preheating the oven at 325 degrees. And here are all the pans with the Amish bread batter in it, and it's getting ready to be placed in the oven. And now my grandma is placing the pans in the oven. Now the Amish breads are finished baking in the oven. It looks so good and it smells so delicious. And this is what the Amish bread looks like after it's out of the oven. It looks so pretty and I love it. It tastes so good and it smells so good. It definitely reminds you of the Christmas season, the holiday season, or whenever you want to bake this Amish bread. And here is my Amish bread my grandma made for me, and she's taken out the pan. And it looks so good. Look at all that cinnamon sugar at the bottom. And I have the one that was just cinnamon sugar. And my grandma, she's just getting the rest of the cinnamon sugar out of the pan. And this is what the bottom of the Amish bread looks like. And this is what the top of the Amish bread looks like. And here's my second Amish bread my grandma is taking out the pan. And there you have it. Here is the Amish bread, and it was so good. I love Amish bread. I love the cinnamon sugar, and it definitely reminds me of the holiday season. Or you can make this anytime, Christmas, anytime you want to. And I definitely have great memories making this Amish bread with my grandma. We made this Amish bread for like 11 years, and we love it. And it smells so good, tastes so delicious, and it's so nice and soft. And you definitely taste the cinnamon swirl. So delicious. I definitely recommend this recipe, and I definitely recommend you all trying it out.